Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the text box control. So here we are back in Visual Studio 2019, and I have a grid with two columns so far. Okay, I'm going to start with adding a style for the text box and text block. So style. This is only going to impact the font size. I just want to increase the font size with these styles. All right, so this is going to be setter of property, font size, and value. I'm looking for 24. That should be all right. And I want to add another one of these for text block. I'm going to use the text block as label only, just to describe what's going on. All right, so let's change this to text block, and let's go with 22 for text block. Okay, let's collapse these, and back in our grid, I'm going to add a stack panel, and that's going to be on the first row, first column right here. All right, so let's add a text block. I'm just using text block as label, basically. And if you remember from my label demo, text block is lightweight, so it has text property versus the content property. So I'm going to use text block as a label. So I want this to say simple text box. Okay, and next I want to add a simple text box. Okay, so a simple text box. Let's run this. Okay, so this is our simple text box, and it's as simple as it gets. All right. If for some reason you want to have the text box to have some text in there by default, in that case you may want to set the text property to the text you want to. Let's say type here, and in that case the text will be in there, but don't confuse it with placeholder. It's not a placeholder, it's actually text in there. Normally a placeholder, when you set the focus to the text box, it will disappear. WPF doesn't have that, but if that's something you're interested in, please drop a comment. We may create a style for the next demo if you want to. But for this guy, I have to actually manually clear it, and if you want to change the input to something else. All right. The next property I want to talk about is read only, and that's for some reason if you don't want anybody to change anything in the text box, or you're not going to use it for input purposes. In that case, you can set it to read only, and it won't allow you to do anything with it. Okay, you can still select it, but you can't do anything. You can't change it. Okay, so that's the read-only property, is read-only. All right, let's move on to our next example. Okay, for our next example, let's add another set of these guys. Let's copy and paste this. And let's change this text block to spell check. spell check text box. So this is going to be about how to activate the spell check on our text box. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this that we use for LaTeX sample, and I'm going to enable spell check. So spell check, we call in that property, and we'll set this to is enabled to true. So spell check dot is enabled, and we are setting it to true. Okay, and right after that, we need to set the language. So the language we are looking for English US, but you can try different ones if you want to. I guess it depends on the dictionary. If the dictionary is built in, you may, be able to use different languages, but this one should work. Let's run this. So in our spell check text box, if I type in hello and space, now it's going to underline and telling me that I misspelled my word. So if I right click, give me the options to change it, or you can ignore it, so on and so forth. So if I click on the correct word, then it's going to correct it for me. Okay, likewise. All right, so that's spell check. Okay. All right, for our next example, let's copy and paste this one more time. Actually, let's copy and paste from here. And I'm going to change this multi-line. So now we are going to talk about multi-line text box. Let's get rid of these properties. All right. So let's run this. And let's check out the default behavior. So if I type in anything here and hit enter, nothing happens. And you can type in all the way, but nothing happens. Let's actually increase the height of the text box. Let's go with say 100 or 2. Well, what 200? That's a little too much. Let's go with 150. Okay, let's try that. Let's try again. So if I start typing here, I can keep going on and on. Okay, that's default behavior, but let's make this text box multi-line. All right, so to make it multi-line, we need to set the property called accept return to true, and might as well set the text wrapping to wrap. Okay, so let's try this time. So now if I type in here and hit enter, and the cursor will go to the next line. I can keep going here. Let's type in here, actually it's something that makes sense. So in order, let's say, in order to make a text box multi-line, let's actually continue typing multi-line, set accept return returns to true, and consider setting text wrapping to wrap. Okay. So now if you hit the enter key, I will go to the next line, so on and so forth. So that's multi-line text box. Okay. Before we move on to our next example, I want to make some changes here. First of all, I want to change the color of these text blocks so they don't look identical. Let's go ahead and add another setter here. And let's change the foreground to gray. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and create another set of these guys here. Let's copy and paste this. And let's get rid of this two properties here. And let's change our text block text to text blocks text selection. Okay. And I'm going to actually give a name to this text blocks here too and change the height to 120. Let's get a name because we're going to be using that for this example. So let's get a name. Let's call this multi-line text block. Text box, multi-line, or called TBX multi-line. All right, that's descriptive enough. So let's in order to do that, in order to enable the text selection, we have to create an event handler. So text box texts. Let me see if I can remember that event selection changed. Yep. So the event we are looking for is selection changed, and let's create a new event handler, and let's go to definition. Okay, so once we are in our event handler, first thing I want to do, I want to grab that text box that's sending the event. So var, let's call this TBX, set the sender to a text box. All right, so once we grab that, I want to print out to the large text box here. I want to print out what's selected, the length of the selection, and where the selection starts. So tbx multiline dot text equals, let's create a string interpolation here. So let's see. First, I want to say your selection starts at character, and let's whoopsie. Starts, let's add a column here and open close our curly braces. So we'll type in tbx selection start. So that's going to give us the the character, or actually the index where the selection starts. Next, I want to actually give it a line break, and then I want to say your selection is, let's get the length, tbx selection dot length, selection length right here, and then let's add another line break, and let's say your, actually no, your selection is this long. Let's say we're getting the length here, so this many characters long. Another line break, and we want to say your selection is column tbx dot selected text. Okay, let's add a set of columns here too, and let's try this out. Let's type in, oh, as soon as we set the focus, so something popped up here, but we are not getting any values. So let's type in something. So text box in selection mode, in text selection mode. Okay, so now when I select a word from this line of text, now we will see the values change here. So we got 15 here. Is it correct? 2, 4, 6. That doesn't seem right. Okay, that starts at, I'm sorry, my bad again. So the selection starts at index 15, and the selection is 10 characters long. 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. I guess we're grabbing the space too over here, so that's 10. If you select the last one, we get 4. Here we're getting the space too, I think. Here we are getting the space, and here we are getting the space. Okay, and it's correctly showing us the selected word here. Okay, so that's text selection in a text box. So for our last example for this demo, let's do a text change event as well. Let's copy and paste these guys. And let's change this to text box text changed and get rid of this event from here, and we need text changed event handler. Okay, let's go to our code behind. It's going to be quite simple. So first we need to grab the text box. So var tbx equals sender as text box, cast it out, and then we want to say tbx multiline tbx multiline.text equals tbx.text. It's quite simple. Okay, if we run this again, now anytime we type in our text box, the changes will reflect to the next text box, I mean the large text box, as we type in real time. So That's text changed event. All right. That's it for now. Until the next one, take it easy.